And we'll stay on this story. Our Chase team has reached Tanya Talaga. She's an Anishinaabe author and journalist. And Tanya, I want to get right to it. You were probably listening. The Pope apologizing for the conduct of some members of the Catholic Church. What did you make of that?
Well, it's an apology that is long overdue. It's an apology that stems back 500 years. This is such a historic moment. And I think for survivors who came to Rome with the weight of their stories, the weight of their ancestors and their families with them, I think it was an incredibly important moment.
He did not, however, apologize for the church's role as a whole. If you listen to his words, it was for, some members of the Catholic Church who were involved in Canada's residential school system. Do you think it fell short in any way?
Well, yes, I do think it fell short. I think it's 7 years too late, to be honest with you. I mean, if we look at the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, action number 58 is a call for the Pope to go to Canada within 1 year of the release of the TRC report, the final report, and to issue an apology. I mean, I think that the Pope was very careful with his words here. I think that for years there has been a move to prevent the head of the Catholic Church from apologizing to First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Why? Because of liability issues, because of what will happen next. I mean, this is only the beginning. Now that we have an apology, there are many, many steps forward.
What's the next step?
Well, the next step is him coming to Canada. He said in his address that he'll be coming in the summer, in July. And when he comes, he needs to come to a planned trip by Indigenous leaders, by First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. They have to set the agenda, not the church. And they have to be the ones bringing the Pope to the communities where he needs to say sorry again and again and again. And now it's up to our leaders to also present the Pontiff with a national action plan, if you will. What we would like to see, how do we move forward? This is just the beginning, and we need to tell them what we want.
Is there enough time? Because it's not confirmed that the Pope will visit Canada in July, but it could very well be that time of year. Is that enough lead time to get that plan in place so that there is a strategy?
Absolutely, absolutely. I could think of a couple of strategies right off the top of my head. And one of the strategies I think of, and one of the things that the Catholic Church could help right off the bat, is with helping to recover our lost children. The Catholic Church so many resources. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they put some of those resources, some of that wealth and that power, by opening up records, also helping to fund the search for our children, not just at church grave sites on our First Nations communities, but also too at Indian hospitals, also too at the schools. I mean, now that we have this apology, we have to make good on restitution. We have to take this forward and make sure, if the Catholic Church is, as it says it is going to, help us move forward, that's one way we can do it.
Are you afraid, or worried, I should say, concerned, that this apology could overtake all of that? That, okay, so now there's an apology, now the rest of it kind of takes, what's that back burner status, if you will, because the apology came through?
Absolutely not. An apology is just words. We need to back those words up with action. I mean, it's just one of 94 calls to action. We have only 13 of them truly fulfilled in Canada. There is a lot of work to be done, and words are empty unless there is action behind it.
One of the things that was said by, I believe it was the First Nations delegate in the news conference today, was finally we can begin to put some closure to this. How big a word is that after, 100 years?
Yeah, so longer, right?
Yeah.
Well, every single person has their own journey. Every single person has their own path. Survivors, they have lived through things so many cases, they have to go on their own steps of healing. We as community members can be with them and help them along the way, but our communities have been touched as well. If you didn't go to residential school, if you're an Indigenous person, you know somebody who did. You had a family member who went to school. You had a parent, a grandparent, a friend, an auntie, an uncle, a grandparent, somebody you know went to the school. And when those schools were closed, what happened afterwards? The fallout, the generational trauma it touches all of us. And you see it all over Canada. And we see it in the 60 Scoop. We see it in our jails. The jails are full of our people. What has happened to our people because of the residential school system and because of policies that were put in place to, quote unquote, beat the Indian out of the child? Mm-hmm. We have so much to overcome. This is just the beginning. You know, all of this is related. It's not just an isolated apology. Yeah. This is but there's a long way to go.
One other question has come to my mind, and that is that you're in Rome, Tanya. Mm-hmm. How did that affect your heart? Being at such a significant moment. I mean, you're an author, you're a journalist, you're good with your words, but what about the emotion, you know?
It was hard coming here. I don't think anybody who came to Rome was excited to come. I know I wasn't. It was hard being here. It is hard being here. You know, I think of the members of my family here. I think of my mother. I think of my lost sister. I think of my uncles who were in the 60 Scoop. I think of one of my cousins who didn't even know he went to residential school until he read his children's aid file. He just didn't remember. I think of all these things, and these are the stories we carry here with us. These are the people that are with us here. It's a personal journey that we're all taking in a way, but in a way we're all connected because all of our families have the same story over and over and over again.
And that is the thread, isn't it? The important part of all of this, that unity. Tanya, always great to talk to you, and I certainly wish you continued strength.
Miigwech, thank you.
Tanya Talaga is an Anishinaabe author and journalist. She's in Rome for this week's historic meetings.